You are listening to Family Justify, and this is how today's story begins.
I walked into my parents' dining room expecting pot roast and small talk. Instead, I got an ambush. My mother's eyes were sharp. My father's jaw was set in that stubborn way I knew too well. Across the table, my younger sister Lily watched me with a small, knowing smile. Before I could even sit, my mother said it. They needed me to pay for Lily's wedding, $45,000. When I said no, the room exploded. They called it duty. They called it obligation. They said if I refused, I should disappear from their lives forever. Lily didn't argue. She just smiled wider. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor in our house in Boise. My voice didn't shake. "You have 24 hours to leave," I said. The room went silent. They thought I was bluffing. They didn't yet understand what that sentence meant. My name is Rachel Monroe. I'm 28 years old, and this is how everything finally broke. Before that dinner in Boise, my life already had a pattern. I just kept telling myself it was temporary. I work as a software engineer now based in Seattle with a salary my parents love to repeat to relatives, like a badge they earned themselves. But nothing about my life was handed to me. I worked 3 jobs through college: morning coffee shifts before sunrise, classes until mid-afternoon, tutoring high school students in the early evening, closing a bookstore at night, shelving returns until my hands went numb. Most nights I slept 5 hours if I was lucky. I graduated with honors and $60,000 in student loan debt. Lily's path couldn't have been more different. She went to the same state university. Our parents paid for everything: tuition, dorm, meal plans, sorority dues, and spring break trips to places like Miami and Cancun. She graduated debt-free with a communications degree and no job offers, but no one treated that as a problem. When I asked about the difference once my mother smiled like this conversation had already been settled. "You've always been independent," she said. "Lily needs more support." What she meant was clear. I was built to endure. Lily was built to be protected. After college, the requests started quietly. First, it was Lily's credit card. Just this once, my parents said, $3,000. Then property taxes they forgot about. Then my dad's car repair. Then my mom's dental work insurance didn't cover. Every time there was panic in their voices. Every time there was a promise it was the last ask. It never was. I paid while eating ramen for weeks. I delayed my own doctor appointments. I kept spreadsheets instead of vacations. At Sunday dinners, Lily was praised for finding herself. I was thanked for being reliable. No one asked how I was doing. They just assumed I could handle it. Over time, something shifted inside me. I stopped mentioning promotions. I stopped talking about how tired I was. I learned that the more I gave, the quieter I became. My value wasn't who I was, it was what I could fix. By the time I turned 28, I wasn't a daughter anymore. I was a solution. And sitting at that dining table in Boise, listening to them demand $45,000 more, I finally understood something I'd been avoiding for years. This wasn't love. It was a system, and I was the one financing it. The truth is, none of this started at the dinner table. Long before the wedding demand, long before the threats, long before my parents told me I should disappear from their lives if I said no. It started the first time I realized my memory was being rewritten. I'd pay a bill. Weeks later, they'd deny asking. I'd transfer money. Months later, they'd swear they never promised to stop. At first, I thought it was stress. Then I thought it was denial. Eventually, I understood what it really was. Control needs confusion to survive. About a year before that dinner, after Lily asked me to pay off her credit card and my parents backed her up with, "That's just what family does," I started recording conversations. Not everything, only the important ones. Money, promises, obligations dressed up as love. The first recording felt uncomfortable, like I was doing something wrong. But the second one felt necessary. And by the third, I wasn't guessing anymore. I was confirming patterns. 6 months ago, my parents called me in a panic. They were about to lose the house. They'd refinanced twice, used credit to cover credit, promised themselves things would work out. The bank didn't agree. They had 60 days. I remember sitting on my couch, phone pressed to my ear, my mother crying softly while my father talked about shame, embarrassment, and how they'd failed as parents. Against every instinct screaming at me to step back, I stepped in. I bought the house. $200,000. Legal paperwork, clean transfer. The agreement was simple. They could live there rent-free while they stabilized. When they were ready to downsize, we'd talk. They hugged me, they cried. And on speakerphone, both of them promised this was the last time they'd ever ask me for money. I recorded that call, not because I planned to use it, because I didn't trust promises anymore. After that, the requests didn't stop. They just changed shape. Property taxes they forgot, car repairs they couldn't delay, groceries they couldn't afford this month. Each call came with urgency. Each one ended with just this once. 3 months before the dinner, my mother called sobbing again, said they were drowning, said they couldn't even buy food. I transferred $20,000 to wipe out their credit cards. Before I sent it, I made them promise again that this was it. I recorded that too. So when they demanded $45,000 for Lily's wedding, something finally broke through the fog. Not anger, clarity. That night, after I left the house, I went home and didn't turn on the lights. I spread everything across my table. Bank statements, transfer confirmations, dates, amounts. 5 years. I added it up once, then again. $58,000. Money I hadn't budgeted for myself. Time I'd traded for family stability. Choices I postponed because there was always another emergency. I didn't cry. I opened my email instead. I searched my parents' names. Requests, thank you notes, promises to pay me back soon. Then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Several confirmation emails had been forwarded to Lily. I opened the threads slowly. Buried in casual replies were lines I couldn't unsee. We'll use this to show everyone you're helping us. Don't worry. People believe what we tell them. My hands went cold. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't accuse. I sent one email. Just one. To the mortgage servicer. Neutral. Factual. I'd like to confirm the payment history for this account. I believe I've been the primary source of several transfers and want to verify the records. No drama, no exposure. 2 days later, the response came. This account is under review due to irregular payment attribution. I stared at the screen. I hadn't reported them. I hadn't explained anything. I had simply stopped protecting the story they built using my silence. And for the first time, something bigger than me was looking at the numbers. That was when I understood. I didn't need to argue my way out. I needed to document my way free. The dining room felt too bright. White plates, pot roast steam, Lily's smirk. My parents' faces already decided. My mother didn't even let me sit, so you're paying for Lily's wedding or not? No, I said. My father's jaw tightened. Then you're choosing money over family. I pulled out my phone. Before we keep talking, listen. I pressed play. My father's voice came through small but clear. Rachel, I swear on my mother's grave we will never ask you for another dollar. This is the last time. My mother followed never again, sweetie, we promise. The date stamp glowed under it. 3 months and 4 days ago. My father went still. My mother blinked hard. Lily's smirk finally faded. You recorded us, my father whispered. I did, I said, and I have more. My mother tried to grab control back. That's illegal. We're in Idaho, I said calmly. One-party consent, I checked. Silence. Then I said the sentence that changed their posture. This house is mine. My father scoffed. Don't be ridiculous. I bought it from you 6 months ago, I said. My name is on the deed. You live here because I allow it. Lily shot up. So you're going to throw them out? What kind of monster? Stop, I said. Let's talk about the wedding. How much have you already spent? I asked. It doesn't matter, she snapped. It does. How much? Her voice dropped. 15,000? From where I asked. She glanced at our parents, their credit cards. My father forced a righteous tone. We thought you'd help. Family helps. Did you ask me before you charged it? I said. My mother's voice turned sweet. You're the successful one. You can handle it. I let that sit for a beat, then looked at Lily. Tell me about Derek. Her eyes narrowed. Why? Because you're asking me for 45,000, I said. I need to know who benefits. I opened another folder on my phone. I ran a background check. My mother gasped. You had no right. I do, I said. 2 prior engagements, gambling debt, fired from jobs, behind on rent. Lily's face tightened. You're lying. Before I could answer, the front door opened. Heavy footsteps, a stumble. Derek appeared in the doorway holding a bottle in a paper bag, cheeks flushed, grin loose. He looked at Lily and then at me. Oh, there's the rich sister, he slurred. Lily says you're loaded. Lily rushed toward him. Derek, stop. Go home. He laughed. Soon we're married, living good. Your family's going to take care of us. Then he said the part my parents couldn't unsay. Your mom told me you'd pay for the wedding, the honeymoon, everything. My mother went pale. My father half stood like he could block the sentence with his body. I walked to the front door and opened it wide. "Derek," I said, "steady leave, now." He blinked, shrugged, and stumbled out. I closed the door and turned back. Lily was crying. My mother looked exposed. My father looked older. And that's when I asked the question I'd been holding all night. Where's the $15,000 Grandma left me in her will? The room didn't just go quiet. It changed. My mother's mouth opened, then closed. My father stared at the table like it could save him. Lily looked between them, confused for the first time all night. What 15,000? I didn't take my eyes off my parents. "Grandma left me 15,000 in her will. You told me you'd invest it for me." My father's voice came out too fast. "We don't have to explain our finances to you." I nodded once. That's an answer. My mother started crying the way she always did when she needed the room to soften. "Rachel, honey, we had emergencies. Bills. We were going to pay you back. So you took it," I said, "and you didn't tell me." Lily's voice cracked. "Mom," my father snapped, "your sister makes good money. She didn't need it." That sentence hit like cold water. I didn't yell. I didn't slam my hands on the table. I just said, "You don't get to decide what I need." My father's chair scraped as he stood. "We are your parents." "And I'm your daughter," I said, "not your lender." I looked at my watch. "You have 23 hours left." My mother's face crumpled. "Leave." "Where?" "That's not my problem anymore," I said. "You charged 15,000 to credit cards for a wedding you can't afford. You took my inheritance. You tried to threaten me into paying 45,000 more. Those were choices." Lily stepped forward, voice sharp through tears. "You're doing this to punish us." "No," I said. "I'm doing this because I finally understand the pattern." My father tried the old voice, the one that used to pin me in place. "If you do this, you'll regret it." I met his eyes. "I regret waiting this long." I walked to the hallway closet, pulled out a plain envelope, and set it on the table. My mother wiped her cheeks. "What is that?" "Printed copies," I said. "The deed, the sale, the documents you signed, and the audio transcript from the last time promise." My father's face tightened. "You planned this." "I prepared," I corrected, "because I knew you'd ask again." Lily's voice went small. "Rachel, please." I softened my tone, not my boundary. "Lily, this isn't about your wedding anymore. It's about what you learned to expect from me." My mother reached for my hand. I stepped back. "Here's what happens now," I said, calm and final. "You pack what you need tonight. You leave this house within 24 hours. And you do not contact me to negotiate, guilt me, or threaten me." My father took a step forward. "You can't." I opened the front door. "Yes," I said quietly, "I can." They stood there, stunned by the fact that I meant it. Then my mother began to sob again, and my father finally looked away. Lily didn't smirk this time. She just stared at the floor like she'd never seen it crack before. They left that night with 2 suitcases and a silence that finally belonged to me. No slammed doors, no dramatic goodbye, just my father's rigid shoulders, my mother's shaking hands, and Lily walking behind them like someone realizing a smile doesn't pay a bill. By morning, I changed the locks, not to punish them, to make the boundary real. The fallout spread fast. Lily canceled the venue within a week. Deposits were lost. Guests demanded explanations. She took the calls anyway, voice small, finally learning what adulthood feels like when nobody rescues you. My parents tried once to reach me through a cousin. I sent back one sentence. If it isn't in writing, it doesn't exist. After that, the noise faded. They moved into a cheap apartment across town. My father picked up extra shifts. My mother took a part-time job at a library. It wasn't inspiring, it was necessary. And for the first time, their survival wasn't tied to my paycheck. 2 weeks later, Aunt Caroline showed up at my door. The aunt my parents spent years calling unstable. She didn't bring gossip. She brought paperwork, a letter from Grandma, copies of the will, proof the inheritance existed, proof my parents took it, proof this house was meant to be mine long before they ever begged me to save them. I sat at my kitchen table and let the truth settle into place. Caroline introduced me to Aaron Mitchell, a lawyer who spoke in clean, careful terms. Criminal options, civil options, public exposure. I didn't choose revenge. I chose closure. "No charges," I said, "but I want terms." They signed that night. Any claim to the house gone, any claim to Grandma's estate gone, therapy and financial counseling required, and the biggest one, no contact unless I initiated it. My father looked at me like he wanted to say the same old line, love, family, sacrifice. I didn't give him room, because love wasn't words anymore. It was behavior. 3 months later, my life got quieter in the best way. My sleep came back. My work steadied. I stopped bracing every time my phone buzzed. No speeches, just terms. Rachel didn't lose her family. In one argument, she finally saw the pattern behind every emergency. For years, she was the responsible daughter, paying debts, rescuing crises, and staying quiet so the peace stayed intact. But the night her parents demanded $45,000 for Lily's wedding, she brought receipts, recordings, documents, and the truth about how money had been used to control her. Instead of revenge, she chose boundaries with terms written, communication only, legal clarity and distance that protected her future. If this hit close to home, here's the lesson: love is not proven by suffering. Start documenting set limits you can enforce and stop funding choices that harm you. If you felt this story, subscribe to Family Justice Files. Your support keeps the next one coming.